Hello and welcome to this first tutorial of my cloud computing series. I'm Dr. Backend, a Django and Python enthusiast, and also an AWS certified cloud practitioner and solutions architect. Today, I'm going to introduce you to one of the most important concepts in modern technology, and that is cloud computing. Whether you're a developer, a tech enthusiast, or even a business professional trying to understand how the cloud works, this tutorial is for you. It will give you all the clarity that you need to get started. Before we jump right in, let's first have a look at what we are going to cover. We'll start by defining what cloud computing actually is. Then we'll look at traditional IT infrastructure and see how it compares to the cloud. From there, we'll explore why cloud computing became such a popular model by looking at some of its advantages. We'll also break down the different cloud service and deployment models. So basically, here we'll see how you can get to run your IT resources, whether you choose to run them from the cloud, on premises, or both, right? And of course, whether you prefer to have full control over your resources or abstract away that complexity for simplicity and speed. Generally, the cloud has options for every style. Finally, we'll take a quick look at the major cloud providers, the likes of AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, that are powering this evolution. By the end of this tutorial, you will understand the core concepts that power the modern digital world. All right, before we get into any of the technical stuff, let's first build a mental model. Because when you're trying to learn something new, having the right mental picture makes everything click way faster. So at its core, cloud computing is simply the delivery of IT resources over the internet, and that is on demand and based on the pay-as-you-go pricing model. Instead of buying physical servers or building your own data center, that comes with the challenges of cooling systems, power, maintenance. Instead, you just rent what you need from a cloud provider like AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure. Think of it like electricity. You don't build your own power plant just to turn on the lights, right? All you do is plug into the grid, use the electricity you need, and at the end of the month, you only pay for what you consumed. Cloud computing works exactly the same way. You plug into someone else's infrastructure, provision the computing power or storage that you need, use it for as long as you want, and only pay for what you actually use. That's it. That's the cloud. Once you get that picture in your head, everything else will make sense, I promise. Before the advent of cloud computing, a simple task like launching an application was a whole operation. It wasn't just about writing code. Probably that was the easiest part. If a company wanted to put something online, the first step wasn't deployment, it was shopping. You had to buy physical servers, and this weren't like buying ordinary computers. These were very expensive industrial grade machines, right? Then you needed a data center, which meant renting a secure facility designed to host machines 24/7, right? Then you'd have to worry about cooling systems, to stop your servers from overheating, power backups in case of any outages, networking equipment to keep connected, security controls to stop unauthorized access. And of course, none of this ran by itself. You had to hire engineers just to keep your servers running smoothly. This was a huge commitment, honestly, and it came with one big problem. You had to guess your capacity in advance. If demand spiked, your systems crashed. If demand dropped, your resources would just sit there idle. And of course, whether business was blooming or was slow, you had to pay either way. Now, this is where cloud computing transformed the entire game. Instead of treating infrastructure as heavy physical machinery that you have to own and manage, the cloud lets you treat it like a software, something you can sign up, modify, or delete with just a few clicks. If you need a server, you don't have to go through the hassle of ordering hardware or wait weeks for delivery. You just launch a virtual machine in a matter of minutes. If you need more storage, you don't have to install new drives. You just expand it instantly with a few clicks, right? If you're done using it, you turn it off, right? And the charges stop right there. Behind the scenes, your cloud provider does the heavy lifting of running massive data centers that are filled with real physical servers. But on your end, you never have to interact with any of them. You just access everything remotely through a dashboard, an API, or a command line, right? So this shift from hardware ownership to on-demand software access is what truly unlocked the speed and flexibility that we enjoy in technology today. Now that we understand how the cloud works, let's talk about why it became such a big deal. Because it simply delivers advantages that the traditional IT model cannot match. The first big shift is in its friendly financial model. In the past, companies had to spend huge amounts of money upfront just to get started. They had to buy servers, rent space for data centers, and hope they calculated everything correctly. With the cloud, that flips completely. Instead of buying hardware, you simply rent what you need and pay only for what you use. Then there's the benefit of economies of scale. Cloud providers like AWS serve millions of customers. This means they operate on a scale that individual companies never could, right? And because they buy hardware in massive bulk and run efficient data centers, they get to offer computing power at costs that are much cheaper than running your own setup. So without realizing it, you're actually benefiting from global economies of scale. Next is scalability and elasticity that cloud computing offers. In the traditional model, you had to guess how much capacity you'd need. If you are wrong, you either crashed your system or wasted money on idle machines. In the cloud, there's no guessing. If your app suddenly goes viral at midnight, the cloud automatically scales up. If things go quiet, it scales back down. You get exactly the right amount of power at the right time. No more, no less. Now, let's talk about the speed and agility that comes with it. Setting up infrastructure used to be a daunting task. It would take weeks, sometimes months. You'd wait for hardware deliveries, installations, configuration, right? With the cloud, you can now deploy entire environments in a matter of minutes. You can launch an experiment, test a feature, or roll back instantly. That level of speed and agility fuels innovation like we have never seen before. Another huge perk is there are no more maintenance headaches. You don't have to worry about cooling systems, failed hard drives, or patching machines. All the heavy lifting, including power, security, hardware replacements, they are all handled by the cloud provider. You only focus on building your product. Finally, the global reach, right? If you wanted to launch an app for users in, let's say, Europe, Asia, South America, or even in Africa, right? In the traditional model, you'd need contracts with data centers in each region. Today, with just a few clicks, you can deploy your application across multiple continents, right? And that happens instantly. That means fast performance for your users anywhere in the world. So why does this matter to businesses? Cloud computing isn't just about technology. I would argue that it's about business strategy. We now see that startups can launch globally without owning any piece of hardware. Enterprises can modernize without shutting down operations. Teams can experiment more, right? Because a failure doesn't cost a fortune as it used to in the traditional model. In short, the cloud removes all the unnecessary friction. It helps businesses to turn ideas into reality much faster than ever. Now, let us look at the cloud deployment models that are available. Deployment models describe where the cloud runs. First, we have the public cloud, which is the most common. In this model, services like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud own the infrastructure, and you rent what you need over the internet. You're technically sharing hardware with other customers, but your resources stay logically isolated and secure. It's popular because of its affordability. It is fast to set up and easy to scale. Next is the on-premise, or what we call the private cloud. This setup is dedicated to a single organization, and it's either hosted in their own data center or managed by a provider. Because nothing is shared, businesses get more control and tighter security, but it also means more cost and more responsibility. Finally, there's the hybrid cloud, which blends both worlds. A company might keep sensitive data on premises while running less critical applications in the public cloud. This approach is great for gradual cloud adoption, compliance requirements, or simply if you want to keep your flexibility. So in short, public cloud is about speed and cost efficiency. Private cloud is about control and security. And hybrid cloud is about a balance of both worlds. Cloud services are offered in three models, and the difference between them comes down to how much control you want, right? Versus how much convenience you prefer. First, we have infrastructure as a service. This is the most flexible option. You get virtual machines, storage, networking, basically any IT resource that you need, but everything else is up to you. You have now to install the operating system, deploy applications, and manage configurations. It's like renting an empty apartment, right? The space is yours, but you bring the furniture. A good example of this is Amazon EC2, if you are already familiar with, the AWS cloud. Next is platform as a service, or PaaS, right? Here, the provider handles the infrastructure and the runtime environment. You just focus on writing and deploying your application. This is more like moving into a fully furnished apartment where everything is set up and you can get straight to just, living in it. A good example would be AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Finally, at the top, we have software as a service. This is the most hands-off model where you don't manage anything. You simply log in and use the application. Think of Gmail or Slack, right? In this case, you're not even renting an apartment. You're just checking it into a hotel room where everything is prepared and you just use it. Now, to wrap up things, let's take a quick look at the major cloud providers that are powering most of the internet today. At the top of the market is Amazon Web Services, or simply AWS. It's the oldest, the largest, and offers the widest range of cloud services, from computing and storage to AI and machine learning. If you can think of any cloud use case, AWS probably has a service for it. At the time of recording, it has over 200 cloud services. Next is Microsoft Azure, which is especially popular among enterprise companies, particularly those already using Windows, Office, or Active Directory. Azure integrates really well with existing corporate environments. Then we have Google Cloud, known for its strengths in data analytics, machine learning, and high performance computing. Thanks to Google's experience running products like YouTube, Gmail, and such at massive scale. Beyond these three giants, there are other niche providers like IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, DigitalOcean, each serving specific industries or workloads. AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud make up the majority of the market. All right, we have come to the end. That's your foundation in cloud computing. In the next session, we'll explore Amazon Web Services in more detail and see how these concepts become real services that you can start using today. If you found this helpful, please hit a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what topics you would like to see in the upcoming tutorials. This is Dr. Backend, helping you build smarter and not harder. See you in the next one. Bye bye.